Hi, welcome back to Amipal. Today we're going to be talking about SD cards and how to use them in your Amiga as like a faux hard drive. I've previously done an episode, which I'll link somewhere, which shows me setting up an SD card adapter from AmigaKit.com. That came with a prepared card. So it had software on there, installation, partition setup, that kind of thing. So it was all ready to rock and roll, if you will. This episode is about setting up one of these, external of the Amiga, and pretty much getting it into a bootable state so you can just plug it in and boot from it. Most people do this using a Windows PC and fs-uae. I have never had a Windows PC, and hopefully never will, because it's too much like work for me. So I'm going to show you how to do this via an Apple Mac and fs-uae. Let's crack on. Okay, so here we are in macOS. I've just inserted the SD card into the back of it. This was formatted on my digital camera, hence why it's called Lumix. Let's get some info for that. It's a 2GB card. It's a no brand card that I found somewhere, and we'll prepare that for use on a real Amiga. So first things first, I'm going to start up a terminal, and we're going to type diskutil list. Okay, and we need to note down where this disk exists. As you can see, we've got DOS FAT16 Lumix, and it's listed as disk 4. Okay, so bear that in mind, dev disk 4. Okay, next thing we need to do is start up the actual disk utility application. There it is, our Lumix SD card, and we need to right click on that, unmount. There it goes. Okay, so you'll see that the disk disappeared from the desktop there, and it's showing as grayed in disk utility. We don't need that anymore, but basically we've unmounted it from macOS, so macOS won't try and do something to it if we then start formatting it and all sorts of jiggery pokery. Okay, so back into here. We've just done disk utility list. Now we need to do a sudo dd if equals dev 0 of equals dev disk 4. Okay, disk 4 is where our SD card was. It may differ on your machine, so that's why we do the disk util list to begin with. So change that to whatever it needs to be. Okay, bs equals 1, count equals 1024. You will need your Mac admin password, and that's prepared the disk. Okay, next up, chmod. Okay, so next up is sudo chmod a+rw dev disk 4. This is basically giving permissions for us to be able to do stuff with the disk. There we go. Okay, that's all sorted now, at least from the Mac side. Now we need to go into fs-uae. There we go, fs-uae launcher. Okay, so here we are, fs-uae launcher. I've got it configured as an A1200 with 3.1 ROM, accuracy high. I then want to make sure, I'll clear all this so you can see what I'm doing. Disk count 4, and we're going to insert I think WV 3.1 install. You don't need to install, actually insert any further disks here, because I'll show you what else we can do. Fonts and extras. We actually have a media swap list with all of the workbench disks involved. Going to hard disk, you can see disk 4 dev is there. The reason why is because you go into a custom function here and you do hard drive 0 equals dev disk full, and then hard drive 0 type equals RDB. So they're custom options. The other one was in there because I've done it earlier, so we just ignore that for now. Make sure no other disks are mounted that you might have. Just makes things a bit easier for making sure you're installing on the right disk. And that also includes kind of faux hard drives, which are taken from Mac OS directories. I've got Kickstart 3.1 ROM here. Add your own. You can get it from Amiga Forever. You might have ripped it from your own Amiga, but it's the best way to do it. 2 meg chip RAM, 8 meg fast RAM. I don't even know why I've got accelerator RAM, but there we go, it's in there. Anything else? I've got an a+rw just to speed things up a bit, but let's start. Okay, fast forward to the Amiga having booted, and I've double clicked on install 3.1 and opened up HD Toolbox from the HD Tools directory. Okay, so first thing we see is that the drive type is SCSI with status unknown. We need to click on the change drive type button, select UAE and click OK. Right, you can see that's now changed and showing us UAE. We can now partition the drive. So we auto our partitions. You don't really need more than 100 meg for a workbench. I mean, after all, we're only copying from about 6 disks, so we'll have that as our boot partition. The second partition here, we'll create that as like a work drive. You need to rename each disk to something like DHO. You can do it at HDO if you want. Flag advanced options and click on change. And we need to alter this max transfer setting here. This needs to show as 0x1fe00. Make sure you hit enter at the end and click OK. That needs to be on both partitions. Second partition you basically do as big as you want it. You may even create more partitions if you want, but they all have to have the max transfer value of 1fe00 there. Click OK to exit, and then save changes to drive and exit. And then we'll reboot the machine. Or reboot the emulation anyway. Okay, it's booting up. Still got all the floppy disks in the drives. You'll see from the partitioning that 2 disks appear, just named after the devices that you entered. You can actually give them proper names when you format them. So let's click on DHO, icons, format disk. That's our boot disk, so we'll call that workbench. We won't have a trash can, don't see any need one, and quick format. A couple of are you sure requesters. And we'll format the next partition. Do this for any of the partitions you've created. This one's going to be work, and we're just going to have that for programs and games. Okay, so we've now got 2 hard drive partitions. I say hard drive, SD card partitions. Open up install 3.1 and then install. And then double click on whichever language you want to install from. This isn't the language of the operating system, this is the language of the installer. Just, so you can understand the installation. Proceed. Okay, we're doing an install of release 3.1. You can leave it on novice if you want, because there's only the 1 disk, but I'm going to do intermediate just to show you that you can choose where you want to install it. This is where you'd be able to select which partition you want to install it on. So I want it there. I want it in English language, no printers, thank you. And we'll have a British keyboard. And now the installation starts. I've got 4 ADF files in the floppy drives, so they're now going to be used from the installation, copying the files over to Workbench. You can see where it's copying each file to, so it's good to know where various bits and pieces go. Because we've got 4 disks, it's not asking us to chop and change very often, but we are going to be asked in a minute for a disk change, and I'll show you how to do that in fs-uae. Okay, now we're going to swap disks. Hit F12 to get into the menu, and then use cursor keys to scroll down to where you need to go. I'm going to eject Workbench and put extras in place, and it'll automatically pick that up. Okay, time to put a new disk in, so F12 again, and we'll take out that and pop in storage. Again, it'll automatically pick that up. And that's it, all installed. Didn't take long, did it? But again, it's only 6 floppy drives. Going to eject all these, so F12 and cursor keys. The purpose of this is so that we don't have any drives with disks in, so that when we click proceed, we'll reboot the machine, and hopefully we'll boot up into Workbench from our newly created Workbench partition on our SD card. Exciting times. And there we go, booted up into Workbench from the SD card. All present and correct. Let's run something. Yep, that works. Close that. Let's have a look at some prefs. See if we can save to the disk. So we'll set that to 8 colours and save. There we go. Get rid of that backdrop. Workbench first, please. And select contents and snapshot all, just to make sure that backdrop doesn't come back, because we don't really want a window back there. And it's all done. Okay, here's one I prepared earlier. As you can see, we've got our drives on the real Amiga. Yes. Let's actually show that it's running from that Amiga. There you go. This one is an 8 gig card, but as I said, well, I don't know if I said, but you can only see 4 gigabytes of the disk, so that's just a limitation of Workbench 3.1. Later versions of Amiga OS, they do register larger disks. So I mean, if you've got 3.5, 3.9, or the newer 3.1.4, you'll be able to access the entire disk. You can also install other filing systems. PFS is very good, as is SFS, but we'll look at those in a future episode. Okay, I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions, any comments on exactly how I did it, or any ideas if there's a better way of doing it in macOS, add them in the comments below. I've only really, take 2. I only really use SanDisk SD cards on my digital camera, so I've formatted an 8 gig card, or partitioned an 8 gig card. That's currently in there at the moment. That's working fine. It works fine. I can copy between partitions. I can run games via WHD load, which will be a future episode. They seem to work fine. I can't give any guarantee that all SD cards are going to work via this method. This no-name one, for instance, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so it's not very reliable. The pre-prepared one from AmigaKit I've had no issues with at all. So if you're just after something that will work first time every time, then definitely buy one from them. They'll have the right cards with the right creation, the right preparation on them. This, is if you want to create more cards and you just kind of want to give it a tinker. I've also got a Lexar card. I haven't tried that yet, but I'll report back if I ever do use that. But yeah, please give it a try. It's not too difficult. One thing to bear in mind though, the sudo dd command in macOS terminal is very powerful. If you get things wrong, then it's it's easy to wipe your main system disk. I haven't done that, but I've been warned about it. Yeah, really make sure you've got the right details copied down from the diskutil terminal command. You know, write it down, get someone else to look at it, make sure you're really accessing the right disk, because I don't want to be held accountable for you wiping your system disk. Thanks for watching.